All right, so today we're going to break down some of the absolute core principles of effective leadership, straight from the mind of expert Brian Tracy. And what you're about to see is that real leadership, well, it has very little to do with a fancy title. It's all about a specific way of thinking and acting. So let's just jump right in.
So, you've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule, right? The idea that it takes that long to really master something. But Brian Tracy points out that there's this huge piece missing from that equation. It's about how much you enjoy it, how much passion you bring to the table. See, if you're emotionally invested, if you actually love what you're doing, you're not just clocking in hours, you're basically supercharging the whole process. And get this, he says passion can help you master your craft in 1/10 the time. Now, that is a pretty staggering claim, isn't it? But the idea here is that loving your work isn't just some fluffy feel-good thing. No, it's a massive competitive advantage. It means you learn faster, you push through the tough stuff way easier, and you can get to mastery in a fraction of the time it takes someone who's just going through the motions. Okay, so if passion is the fuel in your engine, what's the destination? Where are we going with all this? Well, for any leader in any field, the mission is actually super simple, and it's not up for debate. It really all boils down to just one thing.
And here it is. At its core, a leader is someone who gets results. Results that are better than what a non-leader would get. That's the fundamental definition. Your pay, your promotions, your entire success, it's all tied to this simple fact. It's a performance-based world out there, and a leader's number one job is to deliver real, tangible outcomes that actually move the needle.
So that leads to probably the single most important question you can ask yourself, and you should be asking it all the time. What results are expected of me? Seriously, getting crystal clear on this one question is the absolute first step to making sure you're focusing your energy where it's going to have the biggest possible impact. But, before you could even think about leading other people, you have to get your own house in order. You have to lead yourself first. And that all starts with building the right internal framework, a mindset of complete and total ownership. 100%. This number, right here, represents what Brian Tracy calls the single most important quality of any leader, and that is accepting 100% responsibility. Not 99%, 100. That means no excuses, no blaming other people, no pointing fingers, ever. And this really gets to the heart of what that means in practice. You have to be willing to accept responsibility, not just for your own stuff, but for everyone underneath you. A real leader knows that if someone on their team drops the ball, well, that's ultimately on them. It's about building the culture where you own the outcomes, both the good and the bad. Okay, so how do you grow into that kind of leader? Well, Tracy maps out the journey to mastery with these 5 levels of awareness. It starts with unconscious incompetence. You literally don't know what you don't know. Then you move to conscious incompetence, which is huge. Now you know what you don't know. From there, you get to conscious competence, where you can do the skill, but you have to really focus. Then unconscious competence, where it's just automatic, like driving a car. And finally, transference competence, where you're so good you can teach it to somebody else. But listen, the most important jump for any leader is that first one, from level 1 to level 2. That moment you become aware of what you need to work on, that self-awareness is the real starting line for explosive growth. All right, so once you've got that internal game sorted, you need a plan, a real practical plan. This whole next part is about turning that inner resolve into actual external results. It's your blueprint for action. And Tracy throws down a serious challenge here. Set a written goal to double your income in the next 6 to 12 months. Now, why something so specific and, well, so ambitious? Because a goal like that forces you to get incredibly clear. The act of writing it down makes it real and makes it tangible. And it basically programs your subconscious mind to be constantly on the lookout for the ideas and opportunities you'll need to make it happen. I love this quote. Dumb doers beat smart thinkers every day. Now, that might sound a little harsh, but the message behind it is so powerful. Overthinking leads to analysis paralysis. You just get stuck. It is so much better to take imperfect action, learn from what happens, and then adjust your course than it is to sit around waiting for some perfect plan that, let's be honest, is never going to come. Momentum is everything, and it's built by doing, not just by thinking. And this is such a critical mental shift. You have to understand that you only succeed by failing. There is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. Every single mistake you make, every setback, it's not a dead end. It's just a data point. It's valuable information telling you what to do differently the next time around. When you really embrace this idea, every experience, good or bad, becomes a lesson. So, how do you make sure you're actually getting that feedback? It's simple. After any significant activity, you just ask yourself these two questions. First, what did I do right? This is important because it reinforces your strengths and what's working. And second, what would I do differently? This is the one that forces you to learn, adapt, and make sure you're constantly improving. Okay, so we've covered the inner game, your mindset, and the outer game, your blueprint for action. Now, let's talk about the very bedrock of your character. These are the three qualities that create an absolutely unshakable foundation for any great leader. And here they are: courage, integrity, and persistence. Tracy calls these three the golden triangle of leadership. They aren't optional. They are completely non-negotiable if you want to earn people's trust and truly inspire them to follow you. Let's break them down. First, courage. And look, courage is not the absence of fear. Not at all. It's the willingness to take action even when there are no guarantees of success. It's about acting in spite of the fear. Every single time you step outside your comfort zone, you're exercising that courage muscle. And the only way to make fear smaller is to face it head on, to do the very thing you're afraid of. The other two corners of that triangle are just as vital. Integrity is really simple. Be honest. Tell the truth. Let your word be your bond. And persistence, well, that's just good old-fashioned grit. It's the refusal to quit, the ability to get back up after you've been knocked down, no matter how many times it happens. So what happens when you bring all of this together? When you combine that 100% responsibility mindset with a clear blueprint for action and that golden triangle of character? Well, you become something more. You become the role model. This really is the ultimate goal, because the most important quality of a true leader is being a role model. You become someone that people look up to, someone they genuinely want to be like. See, a role model doesn't just get results themselves. They inspire everyone around them to get results too. They set the standard with their own behavior, and that's when people follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to ask yourself. Think of it as the ultimate gut check. What kind of a company would my company be if everyone in it was just like me? Wow, that one forces you to really think about whether you're living up to the standards you expect from everybody else. And answering that question honestly is the real starting point for becoming the leader you are truly capable of being.